Hey, hey, what's going on, everybody? We have a show here, and Rosie, God, I can hear myself breathe. Jesus, I'm fucking laboring here. Um, Rosie has decided that she's going to bring the show on here. I'm just, you know what? I had this opener ready to go. I got to find it now. That's why I'm late. I've been working on this opener. Yeah, Rosie, I know you are. You're holding up your end of the bargain. I know you are. This is what you do. You're fantastic. I just have to there it is. Good. Okay. So this is the way it's supposed to go. All right. So just pretend this is the beginning of the show. All right. It's all you got to do. You just got to pretend this is the beginning of the show. Because it kind of is. Yeah, I know. You're great. People have been requesting you lately. Like more Rosie. We need more Rosie. We've had enough of Jasper. We need more Rosie. Okay, so just pretend this is the beginning of the show. Because it is the beginning of the show. Welcome. It's a Sunday Night AstroLive. Here we go. right, there we are. A little boccherini and some tartarini. Some boccherini and tartarini. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Thank you for your patience and being here tonight. Of course, Rosie is the new camera hog, and she was all the way on the other side of the house. She was like on mouse patrol tonight, and then she saw me walk in this room, and she heard me fire things up, and here she is. Jasper to my left on the cat tower, on the cat Tesla tower, over to the left here. He's generating his feline frequencies. It's a whole new uh, system of energy, free energy, although he doesn't have a lot of it tonight, apparently. Thanks for being here. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we're off and running. It is now officially 2022. I did a webinar today for my subscribers who support the channel, and I put together a 3.5 hour presentation, and it was like on a couple of slides, I was like writing checks from 2021. You know how there's that 1 week or 2 week period where you're still writing 2021? You know, oh fuck, right, or whatever the year is. So I had a couple slides where it's like people in the chat, typo, typo. It's like, yeah, yep, guilty as charged. But the spirit is there. So anyway, welcome. We are theoretically off and running. Feels like just a continuation of what went down in 2020. So there is some of that. But this is going to be, I feel like it's going to be a very different year. And we're going to try to get into some of the aspects here for 2022 that I think are important. And I'm not going to do a recap of my webinar today. By the way, if you want to become a member of the 11th House Club, if you want to do that, you can do that on my 15 Minutes of Flame site. And there's a little drop down there. There are opt-ins for $5, $10, $20 a month memberships. If you're a $10 and $20, which is Mars and Jove membership, that means you will get 1/2 free webinars, and I think you get 5 and 10% off of my services. The regular, just basic membership, you get to be a part of the group webinar, which I did today. So everybody who subscribed and was is contributing today's webinar. So if you decide you want to join, I'll send you the webinar. How's that? What do you think, Rosie? You were kind of there at the end. Okay, now that I've heard Boccherini, I can take these off. I just wanted to do that. All right, we have a lot of ground to cover, and I'm going to try to keep this show under 90 minutes. We're going to hard stop 10 o'clock. So for all you East Coasters, you'll be able to sign off by 11. On the West Coast, you'll be able to sign off by 9, right? Or no, 8 o'clock on the West Coast, 2 hours difference. So we're going to try to hit it hard, keep it snappy. You always wonder why I have cat hair on my clothes. Now I know why. I think Rosie might be a Tartarian cat. She's got this kind of this Tartarian coat. Couldn't you imagine Rosie like hanging out in Tartaria? Rosie, are you a Tartarian breed? She might be. Yes, I know. You're very talkative. She'll come right back over here. Okay, let me see how you guys are doing. Let me check in with you. And a lot going on in the world. Take a breath here. There's a lot happening. I was told, and I knew who he was. Not familiar with the entirety of his work, but I was told that Kev Baker left this plane today. So I think he was ventilated, and I know that there are people. I looked at his channel, and God, he did some great stuff. I mean, there's just so many people out there doing tremendous work just across the board. I mean, we were living in an incredibly rich time when it comes to people contributing their knowledge base to the world we're living in. This is truly Aquarian. I mean, we are living in the Aquarian age. I mean, it is happening right now. And it just blows my mind, like how many people are dialed in to deconstructing the reality we're in, whether it's through looking at the past or looking at the plague of lies in our present, uh, whatever it is. I mean, we you know, Team Decode is on the planet right now, and I would say the majority of the people that are really doing the work are doing great work. Every now and then, you know, it's like you get a person with a camera and a microphone. It's like, okay, all right, that was nice. Isn't there a channel that you can do where maybe you can show somebody how to fix something? No, I mean, by and large, most of the content I run across is really, really solid, and sometimes spectacularly so. Sometimes I run into people that are just like, wow, it nobody, really nobody. I mean, theoretical nobodies, and getting 25, 30,000 views, which, you know, for YouTube is pretty significant. I was watching one of Martin's videos, and I love Martin. You know, Mr. Flat Earth British. He's such a character, and you know, the Tartarian people are fucking characters. I mean, you have to be cut from a certain cloth to kind of wrap your head around it. You're not your average bear. Martin is eccentric, but he's very positive, extremely positive. I really like him, and the images that he comes up with are fantastic. And you know, sometimes when you like look at that world, and by the way, the whole Tartari thing falls under the astrology of our time. The true node is in Taurus, right? We're getting there. That's the north node is in Taurus. True node to get there on the 18th. This is Tartaria land, right? We are dealing with the earth. We're dealing with buried civilizations. We're dealing with mud floods. We're dealing with architectural structures that are part of the bones of our planet and the bones of our history. So I think that the Tartaria story is just getting started. And I was watching a YouTube channel, and they were talking about Build Back Better, and it really just hit me right in the third eye when they said Build Back Better is about destroying these buildings, and that's true. Like, they can't have any more wars. They don't want to have any more wars. You know, they laid waste to Europe in World War I and World War II, and they just leveled these great buildings and the remnants of this prior civilization. What World War I didn't do, World War II made sure that it did do. And then over time, they would go through and you know, take down whatever was left over. There's still great buildings in Europe. Don't get me wrong, um, but they don't want another war. Like, what they want is they want most of the planet intact, um, and most of the people that they want to be here to be here. So with Build Back Better, what they propose to do is they're going to get rid of buildings that are not ecological and carbon friendly. Okay, that's the plan. They want it. You know, when AOC brought it up, and everybody thought she was nuts, and everybody laughed at her, but she was telling you what they're going to do. And the new Green Deal is essentially destroying every building that doesn't comply with the new carbon based code. That's what it's about. And when they do that, they will remove every single remnant of whatever this great world or this great civilization was. So that's a big component of Build Back Better. So people, though, are starting to find, but getting back to the Tartarian, the Tartar heads. Martin was really down. So Martin was down. He was going through what I've gone through on YouTube. He's like, come on, guys, I don't know what's going on. My views are down. Da, 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 da. And it's like, Martin, they're throttling you. Okay. And it sounds like he's having a hard time financially. And this is a guy who's a free spirit, and he's fucking cooped up somewhere, I think in the UK or Wales. So he's having a very difficult time. You can hear it. You could hear it in his voice. So I don't know if he has I'm sure he's got a Patreon or something. I'll probably go support him. But you could tell it's grinding him down. It's because when you deal with, I'm not saying that this is a perfect world, by the way. If it was a perfect world, then it would still be around to some degree. Well, it is around to some degree. But when you take in the beauty, right? When you take in the beauty and you take in the elegance and you take in the potential, which is connected to the Atiquitech and connected to an alchemical system where aether is part of the human experience, whether it's the energy that powers a city or the energy that powers a human, right? A much more holistic world. When you take that in and you match it up against this world, it can be very difficult at times. And the past and the deep past can be inspirational because it reminds people of what was and what can be to some degree, right? And there are other people like, hey man, let it go. Just like don't go past tripping. That's just like nostalgia for an age that never was or something like that. And there's some truth to that. It's like, let it go. Just, be in the moment. It's great, but we tend to romanticize the past anyway. And I think that that's true. And I also think that this is a part of our history, the mystery of our history that does need to be unveiled. And I'm going to be on with Jeffrey Doherty on the 5th. Was that Wednesday night? And I'm going to go down a lot of through the Tartarian rabbit hole. And there are things that I haven't really talked about. I did talk a little bit about it on Randy's show. And I'm going to really get into it on Jeffrey's show. And I'm also going to bring some other things that some of you may have heard and try to tie it all together, because to me, this is in some ways, it's the doorstop. It is the doorstop. And I was listening to Martin complain about, that they have free energy and, we can't get a hold of it. It's true. I mean, I'm sure that they have everything that was worked on in Tartaria and more. Okay. So whatever they were powering those cities with, the aether, the mercury-based lights, like the cities as physical grids, they have it and more now. And so the real injustice and the real crime has to do with the fact that they are slowly, well, not so slowly, pretty quickly, they're rapidly eradicating our relationship with technology so that we won't be able to touch it. This is a very important part. And it's also an important part of the astrology at the time that we're in, because the Uranus and Taurus is de-evolutionary. And I've talked about this before. It is de-evolutionary. And when you go back and you look at those photos of, theoretically Tartaria, all that stuff is really starting to come onto the scene 1851, 1852, 1853. Where's Uranus? It's in Taurus. And where do they go from there? They have the world spheres and just like that, right? So they go from this apex, and the apex is usually typified by Uranus and Scorpio, where Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. And, we saw that period in time, that Uranus in Scorpio period was at the late 70s, early 80s, like when all the computer stuff starts to come online. And, we have Apple, we have Micro. I mean, the whole technological world explodes. with Uranus and Scorpio. It's very evolutionary, right? It's very, I mean, it's everything's pushing forward and faster than what we've seen. But the thing that was important about that time is we were able to touch the technology. We were able to go in and build a computer and get the parts for the computer. Like, you can't even go to fucking Fry's anymore. Fry's closed down. You know, that was one of the things that the geeks love to do. They love to go to Fry's. They love to look at the empty shells and go in there. And, you know, these guys were they were the hot rod builders of the late 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. You go in there and you buy and soup up your computer, and you know, it was like, you know, souping up a car in the 1960s. It was the same idea, but just a different application. All that shit's gone now, right? It's gone. And you know, right now I'm broadcasting through a 2011 PowerBook, and I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to use this thing. I mean, they might just update the shit out of the system, or I may not be able to use certain programs anymore. And then what do I have to do? I may have to go to a 2015, which is the outlier really for. And I can't work on a 2015. I can't pull it apart. You know, if you have a 2015 and something's wrong with it, you have to send it off to Apple. It's a really good book, but you can't work on it. So this is what's happening now. They don't want people to touch the technology. And it's not like they're creating a cast of experts, by the way. That's already happened, right? This is the engineering class of the software world and the dot-com boom, right? Those guys were knowledge keepers. And if you were around engineers in the 90s, they had a lot of power. Like, you needed to be nice to them in order to get shit done. And they were a lot of them were really nice dudes. I worked with a lot of. It just so happened that most of them came from University of North Carolina, so they had a kind of a polite Southern thing, but they were still geeks. Don't get me wrong, they were geeks. They were nice geeks, but you had to be cool with them. I mean, they had the power. You know, if you didn't know how to do things, if you didn't know how to, you know, throw down some HTML or some JavaScript, and you certainly didn't know about any networking, you really depended upon them. They were knowledge keepers. So even those guys, at some point, they'll be obsolete too. A very small group of people will be able to control the systemic application of the Fourth Industrial Revolution and the Great Reset, most of which will be automated. So they'll have even less humans touching the technology. And that's what happens after the mud flood. That's what happened after the fall of the Great Tartaria. You couldn't touch the technology. I mean, you could, but it wasn't like it was before. What happened when you had the robber barons coming in, taking the technology and creating the second industrial revolution, putting the kids in the incubators and the orphan trains and putting them to work in factories along with women, right? This is what happened during that time. And that's when Uranus was in Taurus. Pluto was in Taurus. Neptune was in Pisces. I'm gonna bust out a little Jupiter-Neptune conjunction tonight. I'm gonna show you a few things with the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that'll flip your wig a little bit. The last time it happened, it was in that post-Tartarian period, 1853. So pretty interesting stuff. And the themes that were happening with the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction, it's the last time it happened, right? Because Neptune was in Pisces. Like this, that was the last time Neptune was in Pisces, was during that period, was during that mud-flooded period, Neptune and Pisces, you know, the deluge. So here we are again, and Jupiter coming around. That Jupiter-Neptune conjunction hasn't happened since then. Pretty important. And the three factoids I'm going to roll off to you from that time, we're going to blow your mind. So stick around for that. We're in a de-evolutionary period, and they just don't want people to touch the technology anymore. No, you're not going to do it. We'll do everything for you. They want to turn everybody into infantile, slobbering amoebas, really. I mean, that's what they want. Just you'll know enough how to use your Oculus so that you can go into the metaverse and then feel like a god inside the metaverse. That's exactly what they want. Is it going to happen? No, it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. And the reason why it's not going to happen It's a little complicated. It's a little complicated. And I'm going to get into it on Jeffrey's show, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a taste, a little bit of a hint here that the missing 1,000 years was the 1,000-year reign of Christ. It's already happened. And they've already had the Armageddon. They've already had tribulation. And we are in that time where the devil reigns on the earth. That's where we are. So I'm going to talk about that and more on Jeffrey's Rockfin show. So what do they call that period of time? I mean, I talked about it on a Randy show, so I can talk about it here too. They call it the little season, that the devil will reign for a little season. And what is a season? Is a season 10 years, 100 years, 200 years? In the midst of this so-called epic of time, the little season can be the place that we're in now. And by the way, if you go through everything that's cycled through there, what happens is that there is the mounting of a great conflagration and it's on the border of, what is it, the lovely city or something like that. And just as this war is about to begin, that's when the cosmic hammer drops. And that is the final stage. And you're either in the new heaven, in the new earth, or you're not. That's the final stage. And we're approaching that time. That's why I know they're not going to win, because they're going to try to ultimately shut this thing down, and it's not going to happen. That said, you better bust your ass and make sure it doesn't happen, because as the saying goes, the Lord helps those who help themselves, and we need to help ourselves. We need to help each other. We need to begin to form the foundation of a new civilization, a new world, a new society, a new story, and a new narrative for humanity. This is the time we're in now. It's a very challenging time, but it's also one of the most profound times that you could be participating in. Like, would you want to be on the other side of this thing? Well, maybe you want to incarnate, I don't know, 25 years from now. Who knows? Maybe some of you will. But you're here now, right? You're here now, and the payoff for being here now is enormous. So one of the things that I'm going to talk about tonight are the nodes. I've already started to talk about the true node, specifically as it relates to this idea of Tartaria, because it does deal with the earth and it does deal with the bones of history. So I'm going to get into the nodes tonight. And the South Node in Scorpio is a phantasmagoria. It really is going to give us an opportunity to stare into the abyss and to deal with, in many ways, our greatest fears, whatever those fears are. I mean, that's what the South Node in Scorpio will generate. So we get to deal with that, right? Whether it's a collective fear, whether it's an individual fear, whether it's fear for our family, our health, the eternity of our soul, whatever those things are, we're going to get to deal with that stuff. And we're going to be able to get through once you deal with that, what's left, right? I mean, you stare that down. You stare those things down, and you really stare them down, and you have that moment where you're looking extinction right in the eye, and you don't flinch. You come out the other side of that. Nothing can touch you. Nothing can touch you. And you will not be immortal in your body, but you'll be immortal in your spirit. Who knows? Maybe you'll be immortal in your body. Maybe that'll change. But this is where we are, right? And the counterbalance of that with the true node in Taurus is that we get to figure it out what it is to be a human. Because that's what Taurus is biological. Taurus is the body. Taurus is theoretically the five senses. And the sixth, if you want to bring the sixth sense in. I mean, that's really what Taurus is about. So we get to ground and practice our humanity, our connection with one another, which brings us into some degree of commonality. You know, we've gone through this mirror maze of the true node in Gemini. And I mean, it's been interesting. Don't get me wrong. It's like almost too interesting, but it doesn't really give us a sense of the other. It does, but it's a reflection, a mirror image, a copy, a distortion. When you get into Taurus, you're dealing with the other. Because remember, Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and Venus rules relationships, whether it's Libra or Taurus. And ultimately, I think the Earth rules Taurus. But, you know, so that brings us into the commonality of other people. And the idea, to me, the Taurus is the people. And it really is the salt of the earth. And I think that that's going to be an important part of our lesson and our time together, because we'll be bonded by these core values, these core Tauran values, which have to do with safety and security, financially, shelter, food. I mean, these are all really fundamental principles that we all, for the most part, I mean, some people have like weird fucking things, some weird, you know, like Greta Thunberg said, you know, single macaroni diet or something like that, right? I mean, so some people have weird things, and we're not all like a cookie cutter mold, and thank God, but there is something that connects everybody, at least one thing. Well, most everybody. I mean, some of these people don't have any beating hearts, but that's a whole other story. So that's what the true node in Taurus will wind up manifesting for us. That we will occupy the body, and we'll be dealing with other people that occupy the body, and we'll understand in a lot of ways how important a body is. Because with the South Node in Scorpio, there's always the threat of the Grim Reaper kind of hanging over, you know, over here, right? And it makes you appreciate what you have, and it makes you appreciate even in some ways, the most grueling grueling times of our existence, and to find some level of appreciation for that, and then you can share it with other people. Are you coming over here? Let's go. Come on. He's preening himself. He's been prepping himself for the camera. Come on, let's go. God, he's so vain. Are you coming over here? Let's go. Come on. Come on. He's got to get a scratch in. I got to find that Jasper the Astrological cat tune. That was so good. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Your adoring fans await. Come on, old man. You used to be able to just jump right off of that. Come on. He is so funny. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Astro Cat. Come on, let's go. We'll get up here. It's your time. There he is. You know, I heard that they've got like some fucking COVID for cats now. Can you believe this shit? Can you believe that? You're not going to get cat COVID. No, he just said it. He just said no. Did you hear that? He said no. You're smart. All right, let's see what's going on with chat. Let's see how you guys are doing. See what's happening in there. Get to see connect with some peeps. All right, who do we have here? We have Liz Atwell. What's going on, Liz? Ian Barber. Hey, Ian, good to see you. Cheryl, she was in our webinar today. There's my man, Robin. Hey, Robin, I saw that you're done now? Is that it? You're just going to show up and leave? Something's got his attention. Susie Gemini, what's happening? Scrubbies, hi, Tamara. Miranda Couch. John Levy was really interesting. Okay, you brought up an interesting point. I'm concerned about John. You know what I love about John is his honesty. I love his honesty. It's like, he's like, I should have started this 10 years ago, and he panned around the house that he built, and it's kind of half finished. And you could just tell that he was like depressed. I'm a little concerned about John. Although John is a Taurus. So this is his time. This is his time. But I am concerned about him. And I think he'll be okay. All right. Who do we have here? Gigi Abby Lynn. Love the red velvet and gold staircase. You know what was really interesting about the Tartarian stuff? Hey, Nina Kiki. You look at the people in those pictures, man, they are all so painfully stiff. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, we're here. We're here. They don't smile. They have probably some government issue clothing. Okay. They're really, where they're not stiff is that Market Street film with the cable car going down Market. Boy, was that an animated bunch. Of course, that's 1900. That's a few years after the fact. But you look at those pictures and all those people, they don't look very happy. They're not really smiling. And they look pretty stiff. Like, they almost look two-dimensional. Okay. Let's see. Liz is checking. Hey, Liz, it's good to see you. Hope you're doing all right. Wendy Eater in the house. Hi, Wendy. Kelly B. I feel like I should be wearing a frilly bonnet. Frilly bonnets need to make a comeback. We need more chastity. Could you imagine like being in the Victorian era? Late 1800s, early 1900s. You're in the Victorian era and you are going to become intimate with somebody, right? And there's a woman, and back then they wore long dresses and they wore the frilly collars and they were buttoned up. But could you imagine though, like the absolute thrill when that stuff came off? I mean, it would be like you're back in the Garden of Eden again. Because that's how that's how the society, or at least how the pictures portray it. That's how James Ivory Merchant portrayed it. But that stuff comes off. I mean, it would be like, oh my God, this is Venus right here. Right? This is Aphrodite on the clamshell. I mean, that's what it would be like. Today, it's like, we got titties and ass and twerking. It's like, oh, Jesus. There's no modesty. There's no modesty. It's all like, IG, instant gratification. Back then. And think about the time that it took to take those things off. Like you would have to like either do one or two things, right? You'd either have to be the woman and you'd have to take that off piece by piece, and maybe not in front of the gentleman, and then come out with, I don't know, like something diaphanous, like, oh, right? Or if you kind of made a ritual out of it and took it off. I mean, it took time to do that. It took time to kind of, unwrap the gift. And when you got to the gift, for, most of those people, it was probably pretty big deal. Pretty big deal. So maybe more chastity would be the way to go. It's just amazing too, the level of just decadence that's set into our culture. I mean, this is the second coming of the Weimar Republic, and we've talked about that. Let's see who else. There's Joni S., the lovely and talented doctor. Let's see who else we have here. Long Star 117. I was the 22nd thumbs up, oddly enough. 22 is a good year. There's Marissa. Hey, Marissa. Good to see you. You know what? Okay. Let's see. Provocateur astrology looks like scenes from my past life. Yeah, I feel you. Steve Letro. Jay was on fire the last 3 weeks at Reality Check. Did somebody put him out? Because now, when somebody's on fire, that could mean a lot of different things. Are you back now? All right. Well, come on up. Are you here to stay? Well, Jay's a Taurus, so this should be a good time for him. Come on, let's go. Is this where you want to be? All right. All right. We'll hang out here. Usually when I stand up, you get to stare into the camera. Now you get lazy. Yeah, you get lazy. You just like fall asleep now. It's okay. You've earned it. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Kelly Boyles. There's my man Ryan. Hi, Ryan. Beth Berry. Howdy, Beth. Jen S. I dig the Northern Lights. It's a good one. It's healing. Yes. Ms. Matrix Metaphor. Hello back at you. Let's see. There's my man Tom. Carissa Broadwater. Happy New Year to you. Let's see. Boris Segal. Howdy, Boris. Happy New Year. It's great to say Happy New Year. How long can we say that? Can I say that again next week? I think you get a week on Happy New Year. Zuli Ashergo. Happy New Year back to you. Although the real year starts on March 20th. Sure, we can go with that. That's the astrological new year. Let's see. Who else do we have? She's a tart. Oh, you're good with that. I can approve that. Rosie is a tart. Absolutely. Okay. Who else do we have? The Enlightened Cat is here. Kev Baker, K-E-V Baker. I don't mind midday-ish here. Keep talking. Okay, good. You're good. Charles Mazak, anti-malaria military mandatory vax. Lariam ML Flow Clean is a neurotoxic PTSD, 50 years in use. The matrix is collapsing. It's all good. It is collapsing, 100%. 100%. I've been watching a lot of Martin too. YouTube. So Martin's right. YouTube does that shit. When they, when you're over the target, YouTube unplugs you. It's one of the reasons why I kind of left. Well, actually, they kind of left me. I had no say in it, did I? No, they left you too. They left. The internet was built on the backs of cats. Shannon, what's going on, Snake? Yeah, Martin is funny. Let's see. Charles Kissinger did say they are dumb animals used for foreign policy. All right, what else do we have here? Longstar Charles, he is a 97-year-old beach ball demon. Why is that hell for review? I mean, my God. We don't have any wrenches in here tonight, do we? Tom, you are now moderator. You have been given the deputy sheriff's badge. Let's see, Neo. Howdy, Neo. Uber vitality, economic lockdown, war versus traditional war. Kinetic war, yes. Absolutely. Pipe organ would fit Tartarian. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe we'll do some pipe organ stuff. I need to redo that video. There were a lot of images that were kind of blurry there. Love Light Energetics, welcome and Happy New Year to you. Let's see. Venus Project is the future. When power plant was built at Niagara, the thought was everyone would live in Buffalo skyscrapers. Only farmers would live in the country to grow food. Nothing new. Venus Project, interesting stuff. That was done by the model maker, right? The guy who made all those models. I was into that a long time ago. The thing with the Venus Project, the one thing about the Venus Project that was, how do I say this? A little suspicious. is the guy who was touting the Venus Project. He basically said that the planet had a load, and that the Venus Project would operate under the limits of the planetary load. And it's like, well, what's the planetary load, and who defines what the planetary load is, and who even defines what the planet is at this point? I mean, the whole idea that we have 7 billion people, is that true? Do we really believe we have 7 billion? I don't know if we have 7 billion people. We could have more than 7 billion people. We could have less than 7 billion people. I'm not even sold on the land mass and the continents themselves. So how could you use like the idea of the load of the planet based on numbers and based on land information that may or may not even be true? And by the way, Steve, this is no denigration of your support of the Venus Project. I just thought that was an interesting caveat. Let's see. Michelle on Wheels. What's going on, Michelle on Wheels? Good to see you. Welcome. The tower in Ghostbusters was designed as a portal in the movie by the architects. So one of the buildings in Ghostbusters was the Nicholas Roerich building, if I'm not mistaken, which is a pretty trippy building. And Nicholas Roerich, a pretty trippy character. I still think that Nicholas Roerich might have been a double of Lennon. April Knife. What's going on, April Knife? Yes. Up the likes, please. That would be great. Let's see. People are waking up. They're definitely waking up. Great comments tonight. 100 days at a time. I believe I have to answer for myself when I die. Absolutely. Here's Ren Star. What's going on, Ren? Let's see. What else do we have here? Put your buckets down right where we are now. Message to thirsty sailors off of Brazil, not knowing Amazon fresh water below ocean. Oh, I like that. Masaki sent me a clip of these people in this town in Brazil, and the mayor was mandating the mask, and the people in the town were fucking kicking the mayor's ass. Like they were like physically harassing him and chasing him out of town. Should probably happen a lot more. Susan Chappelle, what's going on, Susan? Melissa at Calyx, new safer place starting. Quartal is the first true decentralized coin in internet on the blockchain. Cool. All right. Are we? Mazumik. It never made sense to me how the population keeps growing. I mean, yeah, there are things to sustain life expectancy, which makes it better for reproduction, but makes no sense. I would agree. I would definitely agree. All right. I think we're caught up, except for Swami Mommy. Okay. Let's do a little invocation. We got a new moon in Capricorn, a new moon on really the second day of the Gregorian New Year. So why don't we do a little invocation on this new moon, this Capricornian new moon. What do you think of that, Jesper? All right. So why don't we just tune in for a moment here for the love that we have for one another in our hearts, right? And that love is a universal love. And that love is the spirit of the Christ, the living Christ in each and every one of us. So let's just tune into that love for just a moment here so that we can share that moment amongst one another in our virtual and physical spaces and places. And let's anchor this moment now for the rest of the year so that in our hearts that we can go forward with this spirit of love. And the spirit of love is not the spirit of love that is docile or passive. It is a fierce and passionate and righteous spirit of love that stands up for truth and raises up the low and smites those that are mighty and much too high. It is the universal love that equalizes all things. So let's just take a moment here and connect with that, and let's anchor it right here on the new moon on the first day, second day of the Gregorian year, and that we may be aware of this love and aware of this presence and aware of this fraternity in the Aquarian age, where we are all an extremely important part of the ongoing story. Let us never forget that, because that is the fuel that will give us our purpose, our vision, and our raison d'etre, our reason to live, and to reclaim this world, and to reclaim this world in the name of the Most High, and that we can finally get on with the business of evolution, true evolution, and true spiritual evolution for all people, for all cultures, for all countries, not just one or two, not just chosen ones or ones that are chosen now for the moment to be elevated over others at the expense of others. No, we're all in it together. Okay. You good with that, Jasper? He's good with that. All right, let's get into the chart of the moment. And let's just see where we are. I did talk about the new moon in Capricorn. So we're going to take a look at that. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I got that song in my head. It's better than the song I had in my head all day today. Oh, I'm not going to tell you. It's one of those songs. It's a fucking earworm, and you can't get it out. You just can't get it out. In fact, now it's in my head again, just thinking about it. All right, where are we? Let's do this. Man, it got cold here. I think it was 27 degrees last night. Dry, cold and dry. Okay. Let's look at the El Charto of the Momento. All right, so we started the show tonight with the Ascendant in Leo. It's about to go into Virgo here over the next hour. So we're going to see the Ascendant change. And there's our new moon right there at 17 degrees Capricorn. Hallelujah. Tomorrow, we're going to have a conjunction with Moon and Venus retrograde. Very interesting. And Venus at 22 degrees tonight. So it is the second day of the year 2022, and Venus is at 22 degrees. Isn't that interesting? So tomorrow we're going to have a Moon Venus conjunction. You know, I like that. It's it softens up. It softens up the crustial, the crustial fold of Capricorn, which is a little crusty. Venus and Capricorn, not the most warm and fuzzy Venus, but you get commitment. If you have Venus and Capricorn, you don't give up the goods very easily, but when you do, it's whoever's with you, it's worth it. I guarantee you. Right. A lot of time people with Venus and Capricorn, their relationship is their job, or their relationship is their relationship to responsibility. But it's one of the, everything with Capricorn gets better with age. So people with Venus and Capricorn, they get better with age. And I think Venus and Capricorn is one of those signs that is like sneaky sensual because it's an earth sign. And, Capricorn is a very powerful earth sign. So it's one of those sneaky sensual kind of aspects. Once the hierarchies drop, right? Once the hierarchies drop, it's a Venus and Capricorn can be pretty sensuous. And if you have Venus and Capricorn, it's just going to get better. And I've seen people who have had Saturn transits of their seventh house or have Saturn in their seventh house natally. Their best relationships always happen after 60. And that's in some ways also very connected to Venus and Capricorn. Interesting age stuff with Venus and Capricorn. You're younger, you date up, right? Or you mate up when you're younger. When you're older, you kind of mate and date down. That's kind of how it works. So the moon comes in and softens things up even a bit, right? Because it's new, it's just fresh, and it's coming off of this rebirth moment here. And we're going to have a moon Pluto conjunction. That should be by Tuesday morning. It should be by Tuesday morning. That's going to be intense. That moon Pluto conjunction. So Tuesday, I think Tuesday gives us our first real glimpse into that'll be Wednesday. See, so Tuesday morning starts to give us our first real glimpse into the intensity of the year ahead. People will feel it, right? That moon Pluto conjunction. That's when people begin to feel a bit threatened with security, because that's what people are dealing with the moon. They're dealing with security issues. And this would be also very reminiscent of this whole parental trip that's going on right now. And when I say parental trip, I was watching the Joe Biden Christmas special, which is fucking ridiculous. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's just fucking ridiculous. And Jennifer Garner, like, could you think of anybody? I get it, right? Jennifer Garner could be, some Victorian lass compared to who else they could have gotten, compared to, Miley Cyrus, right? So Jennifer Garner is Jill Biden, Dr. Jill's best buddy as they move through the various rooms of the White House. And that's when Pedo Joe took the Let's Go Brandon call. By the way, Let's Go Brandon, that guy could not get a sponsor. He couldn't get a sponsor based on the fact that he's been branded. Brandon's been branded. So there's like a new cryptocurrency that is sponsoring him. And it's fucking brilliant, right? I mean, this is now Brandon I love how humans adapt in this way. He's got a crypto sponsor, and it's his own fucking coin. Yes, you're going to have your coin. Your coin is coming. This week is the week of the coin. Okay. So that's brilliant, right? It's totally brilliant. This is what humans do. We adapt. It's like, fuck you. We don't need a sponsor. I don't need a sponsor. We're going to start a coin. We're going to start a coin. Let me see if I can pull that up. It's really clever. Here, let's do this. I'm looking forward to my time with Jeffrey. I'm also going to be on with Noreen. I think, what is it? Is that tomorrow night? Over on Rev Radio. And I'll be talking some astrology with her too. Oh, NASCAR reviewing Let's Go Brandon sponsorship. Come on, NASCAR. Don't have a fucking stick up your ass. Don't be ASCAR. NASCAR reviewing Let's Go Brandon sponsorship. NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Brandon Brown announced on Thursday a sponsorship deal with cryptocurrency meme coin LGB coin. I love it. LGB is Let's Go Brandon, but they forgot something. They forgot the T. Oh, it's fucking great. Now NASCAR. Okay, so a reference to the controversy. Now NASCAR is reviewing the deal. According to Max Marcucci, a spokesperson for Brown's team, NASCAR gave the team written approval on the sponsorship and paid scheme late last year and said the team went through the usual sponsorship approval process. Marcucci said NASCAR called following the announcement and acknowledged to the team that it had received approval and apologized for any confusion and miscommunication, but said that the deal needs to be reviewed at a higher level. So, what does that mean? Higher level. Is that Richard Petty, the god of NASCAR? Does he have to review it? Or is that higher level Brandon himself? The CNN has reached out to NASCAR for comment. According to Thursday's press release, Brandon or Brown will sport an eye-catching red, white, and blue livery with the logo and wordmark of LGB coin aboard his number 68 Chevrolet Camaro for all 33 races of the NXS season. Brown posted a video of the car in social media. James Koutulis, leading holder of LGB coin and founder of Typhoon Capital Management, said in the release, we are proud to support Brandon this season to help him continue his American dream. If we do our job right, when you think of us and you hear Let's Go Brandon, you think and feel Let's Go America. The meme coin, according to the release, is America's coin. How do you feel about that? He's licking his ass. Grounded in a strong belief of the American dream, Brown's team told CNN in a statement on Sunday that it was very aware and appreciative of the process required to approve sponsors and paid schemes. It would not attempt to circumvent that process. Brandon Built Motorsports submitted our most recent sponsors and paint scheme to NASCAR following the standard approval. Nobody would sponsor him. The sponsor approval was unambiguous. The first four words of the email from NASCAR state the sponsors are approved. The only feedback offered was related to minor graphic design, changes to ensure legibility on the track at 170 miles per hour. The Let's Go Brandon chant started after Brown won his first career race at Talladega Speedway in Alabama in early October. After the victory, Brown was being interviewed when the crowd started to chant, fuck Joe Biden. The reporter interviewing Brown said the crowd was instead chanting, Let's Go Brandon. In November's NASCAR State of the Sport address, President Steve Phelps distanced the sport from the chant. I feel for Brandon. Phelps said, I think, unfortunately, it speaks to the state of where we are as a country. Let's do some hand wringing. We do not want to associate ourselves with politics, the left or the right. We obviously have held as a sport tremendous respect for the office of the president, no matter who is sitting. What an ass kisser. He has to kiss ass, though, because they run on gas. Until, of course, they'll have the electric motor NASCAR series, and you know that that's coming because they want to have that. They want, oh, look, them NASCAR drivers are driving them electric engines. That must not be all that bad. Why don't we get ourselves one of them electric cars? I think it's an unfortunate situation. Do we like the fact that it kind of started with NASCAR and then is gaining ground elsewhere? No, we're not happy. But we continue to make sure that we have respect for the office of the president. Isn't that just touching? Anyway, you got to, of course, you got to get Bubba Wallace, who has every major sponsor. My God. He's got McDonald's. He's got Nike. He's got every major sponsor. And Brandon Brown couldn't get a sponsor. And now he's got a sponsor, the LGB coin. And now NASCAR's like, well, I don't know. I don't know. So this was the Santa Claus. This was the Christmas thing. Oh, he was blatant. He said, what's his name? Schmeck, who they tried to cancel. The 35-year-old father then appeared on Steve Bannon's podcast where he said, Donald Trump is my president, and he should still be president right now. Well, he should be, theoretically. I'm going to get into some Trump stuff tonight. You're going to be surprised with what I have to say. So there you go. That's a little cryptocurrency there. And even the name Brown. When you think of Brown, what do I think of Taurus. I think of Taurus. I think of Earth. And, this really is this marriage of Uranus and Taurus and cryptocurrency and a NASCAR sponsor. And that's ingenious, right? It's Uranian. This is a Uranian response to nobody wanting to sponsor Brandon Brown. I wonder what his birthday is. Let's just check that out. You never know. You never know. Could be interesting. Let's see what we got here. I've been noticing less and less birthdays available. Let's see. Wikipedia. He's a Virgo. Perfect. He's an earth sign. Brown, Virgo's color. He was born in 1993. 1993. Let's look at that for a second. 1993. He's a millennial. So what do we have here? Brandon Brown. Brandon Brown. So September 14th, 1993. Okay. Looks like he's got Moon in Leo, Mercury in Libra, Venus in Leo, Mars in Libra. They're not conjunct. Jupiter in Libra. Now that is conjunct. He's got a Mars-Jupiter conjunction. That's pretty good. Balancing out the situation. Saturn, he's going to be going through his Saturn return. He's got Saturn retrograde in Aquarius. And of course, he has those millennial outer planets, Uranus in Capricorn, Neptune in Capricorn, in that really tight conjunction, 18 degrees. And Pluto in Scorpio, True Note in Sagittarius, and Chiron in Leo. So, pretty interesting chart. Jupiter Saturn trine, Mars Saturn trine. I like this guy's chart. He doesn't have a lot of water, mostly air, some earth, fire. Interesting. So the South Node is going to hit his Pluto, which is going to be in what? Well, the whole millennials are going to have this South Node on their Pluto. That's going to be an interesting time for the millennials. Millennials get to face their fears with the South Node conjuncting Pluto, right? For my generation, we have Neptune and Scorpio, so we're going to have the South Node cruising through and hitting our natal Neptunes. That'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting. Yeah, it's that has a lot to do with dreams and narcosis and Gothic music. Well, so Neptune, you get into the realm of like the 12th house and 12th house institutions. So that'll be interesting. But the millennials, they're gonna they're going to go through a transformation here over the course of the next 19 months, with the South Node cruising in and hitting their Pluto. I think it'll be good for them, because my sense is with millennials, there's I've met a lot of great millennials, um, and I feel like it's also a group that has the most invested in. There are two groups that are most invested in COVID in terms of protection. It's the millennials and it's the later boomers. And the later boomers, they don't want to die. They don't want to die, and a lot of them just want to get the carjack because it's convenient. They just want to go travel and keep living their rich and elegant Pluto and Leo lifestyle, right? I mean, they'll do that. I've known a few. Oh well, I want to travel. Oh, it's so inconvenient. And some of them are paying for it. I can tell you that right now. So it's got their number, and then the millennials on the other side of it, they're very clear that they don't want to die. Not all of them. I don't want to put everybody in a bucket, but it's there, right? They don't want to die, and there's also that extreme connection with Pluto. It's obsessive. It's kind of an OCD thing. So South Node, I mean, this could be an interesting time for them waking up. There are a lot of millennials that watch Joe Rogan, and millennial dudes, and the millennial dudes have millennial dudettes or doodahs, whatever. And Joe Rogan is right now probably the most important journalist in America. Think about that for a second. Joe Rogan, who's a stand-up comedian and an MMA guy, is interviewing Robert Malone and Peter McCullough. Like, he is bringing out the big guns when it comes to what we're going through. And it looks to me like whatever kind of issue that he had with Spotify, that got solved, because there was a period of time where inside of Spotify, they wanted to cancel Joe Rogan. Now, I don't know if Rogan or Spotify is run by the Chinese. Some people think that it's got a huge amount of Chinese investment, and that's like a double, triple rabbit hole. But I mean, he's doing things that theoretically real journalists should be doing, and having interviews that are absolute game changers. And it's because he's on Spotify that those interviews can live. YouTube would not have those interviews. Whatever you think of Robert Malone, I mean, YouTube canceled, not YouTube, Twitter canceled him. This is a guy that is the father of the mRNA, and he's kind of like Robert Oppenheimer. When Robert Oppenheimer oversaw the Manhattan Project, after the atomic bomb happened, Oppenheimer was spooked, man. He was like, we got to put the genie back in the bottle. Now, you may think that the atomic bomb never happened, or, what I'd like to know is, what were all those people on the Manhattan Project doing? Were they just fucking around? I actually dated a woman whose parents worked on the Manhattan Project. It was all compartmentalized. So was that just, Bernard Baruch living out some kind of a fantasy and tricking everybody and taking money and paying people for doing work that would never surface? I don't know. Because Bernard Baruch is the guy who's the father of the hell bomb. It was his idea. So, but Oppenheimer was like, I mean, you watch him after the bombs dropped, and he's like fucking freaked out. He's doing everything in his power now. Like, whoa, wait. We got to be really careful with this. So Malone is kind of like the modern day version of Robert Oppenheimer. He created the atomic bomb of the mRNA, but it's not just mRNA. There's other things going on in there. And we know that there's other things in there. And those other things aren't the sole provenance of one Robert Malone. So getting back to the chart of the moment, because that's where we're at. Why don't we finish that up and we'll get into some 2022 stuff here. I like it. There's the true node. It's at 1 Gemini on the 18th. It will go into Taurus. Cedar fever land. Let's see where we are right now. I think the ascendant's changed. Are we still at 29? We're still at 29. Try it again. So it should refresh. Anyway, we've got Mercury at the start of the year here, right at 1 Aquarius. So yesterday, which was New Year's, it was at the degree of the super conjunction. Interesting. So first day of the Gregorian year, Mercury's at 0 Aquarius. And we're going to get into a little of that super conjunction energy tonight with the Venus-Mars conjunction that shows up at that same degree, at 0 degrees. Very important time. We got a square coming in with Uranus. Over. Yeah, that'll be during the week. I don't think people are going to play by the script. People are going off script here with that Mercury-Uranus square. Probably not a bad thing. 11 days out, we've got a Mercury conjunction with Saturn squaring Uranus. Yeah, what is that? That's going to be next week. That could be mandates. That could be travel-related stuff. I can see that. That's in the air. True node is going to be in Taurus. There's going to be a lot less moving around. The crazy migration and people pulling up stakes and moving to Florida and Texas, I think that's going to start to stop when the true node goes into Taurus. And that could be related to things like travel restrictions. What do you think New York is going to do? You got a trained Marxist now who's the mayor. Eric Adams is a trained Marxist, trained in Central America. What do you think Eric Adams is? He's going to be devoted to the cause. He's going to continue to roll out Mr. Kaiser Wilhelm's mandates. Well, I think they could easily lock down New York between him and Kathy Ho-Ho, Crazy Kathy. I think they could easily lock down New York. Adams could put checkpoints easily into the city. I would not be at all surprised if that happened. Same with Crazy Kathy. And we can see this with, the division between the red and the blue states as we've been balkanized here since 2020. We're obviously we're not one country. And they let these hints out. Who's it? The governor of Massachusetts is talking about it. Right. We're going to have a vaccine passport. You can't travel out of the state unless you have a pass. Look, these are minor problems. You people in Canada, you people are having serious issues, serious fucking issues. You guys have whatchamacallit, curfews. What is that about? I mean, to me, it has nothing to do with stopping the spread of a disease. Sorry. Does the Omicron variant come out after 10 o'clock at night? Is it more prevalent after 10 o'clock at night? So you better be in bed. You better be inside. It's nuts. This is in, I think, Ontario. I think it's in Quebec too now. Quebec was one of those areas that was a little easier to deal with. But Canada is nuts. And we had a connection, we had a little chat with one of the people in my webinar today from Ireland, and she's just so disconsolate about what's going on. The European Union is just flat out fucking evil. Okay. It's evil. It's dark and it's evil, and everything has to go through Europe. I talked about that today too. Bill Gates, oh, you got to go to Europe, Bill. Joe Biden, you got to go to Europe. Everybody has to go to Europe now. It's like Europe is reclaiming. Europe is reclaiming the realm, and they're using proxies to reclaim the realm. And of course, their proxies are China and a few other countries who are in league with Europe. It's the same cast of characters. It's the same cast of characters that brought the hellfire and the destruction and the liquefaction during the last reset. Same characters, same groups. If you want to hear more about it, I'll talk on Jeffrey Doherty's program. They're the same people. Some of them might have even been around at that point in time too. Wouldn't put it past them. Because when you look at it now, this idea of being an immortal, you don't have to be a couple hundred years old now. And you get the right nutrient rich and red concoction that keeps you alive. You could live a long time, theoretically. And whatever other technologies are also part of the experience. Yep, I can see that with this Mercury-Saturn conjunction coming up. That'll be next week. Squaring Uranus. A bit heavy. Tad heavy. Mars and Sagittarius, which I like. I love Mars and Sagittarius. It's the Archer. And it's squaring Neptune. So by this time next week, it'll be in a much tighter square. Yeah, and we get into Mars Neptune squares, and we're talking about scapegoats, and it's that the bleeding out. That's what I was thinking of. I was reading this thing about the kosher and halal diets where they bleed the animals out. And apparently it's so that the animals get charged on adrenochrome. And it's like, wow, that makes total sense. Because the animal is going to be fucking freaking out while you're bleeding it out. So all that adrenaline is going into the meat. Think about that. That's kind of like Mars Neptune square, getting bled out. Who's going to be the next scapegoat? Apparently Robert Malone and these guys are going to have a rally in New York. I just found that out. Would you go to that? Would you go to that rally? I don't know. That would be a different kind of rally, wouldn't it? That would not be a January 6th kind of glowy setup rally. It could be different kind of rally. I don't think the rallies work though. They don't even get any they don't even get any airtime. So, however we're going to be dealing with this, it has to be asymmetrical, and it has to be confronted. Let's just put it that way. Look at that. There's our Jupiter at 0 degrees Pisces. We can't leave without talking about that. Why don't I just get to that? Why don't I just jump into that since we're talking about the Tartarian stuff? Because that's the last time post Tartaria, Jupiter was conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Let me get into my notes, my notage. Da, 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 da. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so check this out. Yeah, we got the Pluto return happening. That's a big deal. We'll talk about that. Let's see, where's this? Well, this is real. This is an interesting little thing here. I found this interesting little tidbit. This has to do with the bull on Wall Street. So you guys know that bull, right? Famous bull of Wall Street. By the way, Wall Street is Taurus. So Wall Street might do pretty well, especially if it's a biotech stock. All right, so that guy, this is fascinating. So this guy is Arthur Demodica, and he supposedly cast this bull. This, and it was his gift to the United States, because on Black Monday, which was, are you back now? October 19th, 1989, it was a bad day for the economy. All the Reaganomics caught up with the economy. And there was, it was like George Bush, him and his son are responsible for three of the biggest fucking financial fiascos in the history of this country. You had this Black Friday moment on October 19th, and it set off a recession. And that recession really didn't end until Bill Clinton came in to the White House and started doing all the fancy trade deals with China, making them part of the most favored nation. And that's when Walmart really takes off, and, things begin to change. And the change is because of China. And also the tech stocks start to take off by the end of the Clinton era. And then what happens in the year 2000, April 2000, fucking tech stocks tank, right? The NASDAQ, it's a collapse in the .com stocks. And who's president? George Bush Jr. So we have George Bush Sr. presiding over this Black Monday, October 19th. And this guy, Arthur Demodica, wanted to give back to the country, he's Italian, to the country that gave him the opportunity to prosper. So he created the bull on Wall Street. Now, this is an actual picture of him and how they put the bull into place. It took him 2 years to do this bull, by the way. And they debuted the bull in December of 1991. Now, it was a guerrilla art piece. So what they did, these guys were clever. They brought a Christmas tree. Now you look down here, and what's interesting about this, you can see all these bricks down here. Hello? Is there a city beneath that city? Yeah. So they put this Christmas tree up, and then they hoisted this bull up from beneath, like they hoisted it up from this giant Christmas tree beneath it. And then once they were able to get the bull up there and then patch this shit up, right? They then pulled the Christmas tree away, and there was the bull. The city of New York removed it. Who was mayor then? Was that Giuliani? He might have been. I think Giuliani was mayor of New York in 91. I could be wrong. What a buzzkill, right? But then somebody bought it. I think David Hockney got in on the act. And he made $300,000 off that bull. That's no bull. But I think it's interesting because it also represents Scorpio and Taurus, right? This is the underworld, which is what Scorpio is. It's the underworld, and it's hoisting this bull up to the surface. And he had Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus in Taurus. So he was the right man for the job. He died last year. He died in February of 2020. So Arthur Demodica, the sculptor. Oh, then they had to put in Fearless Girl. God. There's a statue across from the bull, and it's a girl in a dress, and she's undaunted. This was, I think, part of National Women's Day, International Women's Day, which is a communist holiday, by the way. My kid is born on that day. He fucking hates it. He hates the fact he's born international. I remember when he found out about it, he was young and he was pretty depressed. So now they have Fearless Girl staring down the bull. Anyway, interesting, right? A little interesting factoid there. But that's not what I wanted. These are some of the slides from the webinar today. Okay, so I made a little bit of a mistake here. Maybe I can correct it. Hold on. Oh, I can. I had a typo. And it was, it's a checkbook typo, right? You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so here, check this out. So we have Algol, of course, the Medusa star, which is at 26 degrees Taurus. And the true node will be conjunct the moon at 26 degrees on 3/6/22. That'll be interesting. And that day, this is on March 6th this year. True node is going to be at 26 right on the moon, which is the degree of Algol, connected to the head, right? The head, the throat, decapitation, alcohol, the Medusa. We were hanging out with our friends on New Year's Eve, and we were talking about Tartaria, and Lady Artemis was talking about how the Medusa head could have theoretically frozen people into stone, and that's why they have such amazing statuary from that time. That those are real fucking people, and that the Medusa head could be a metaphor for a type of weapon that they actually use to create these incredible sculptures. Like theoretically, those could be real people. She was positing that. It's an interesting, if dark, idea. But to me, this is like sticking your head out. This is sticking. And the same day, Venus and Mars are going to be conjunct in Aquarius at 0 degrees. So this is a very interesting day. That's the same degree as the super conjunction. And, we're just dealing with lots of layers here in 2022. And some of the layers, I think, are fairly dark. We're really looking at things shutting down. We're looking at being fixed in one place. Travel restrictions, quite possibly fuel restrictions in place of travel restrictions. They can artificially do that. They can put that in place, and they could do both. We're also dealing with, of course, the supply chain and it getting harder and harder. And we're hearing stories still about farmers having to get rid of their supplies, their milk and their vegetables, and even slaughtering animals because they can't get them to be processed because of this fucking thing that we've been dealing with. And this thing has now become so, okay, the thing. Apparently in Antarctica, they have a base in Antarctica, and every single person, I think it's a Dutch research lab. Every single person in that base in Antarctica have been vaccinated. They've all got severe COVID. All of them. That's like the thing. That is like, can you imagine that? You're in Antarctica. You're in this base, and everybody is. And by the way, there are people I know, and they have been in the midst of the carjacked, like a party with fully carjacked people. And guess what happened to them? Oh yeah, they got sick, real sick. So there is a thing going on. There is a thing happening. There wasn't a thing happening a year ago. Now the thing is happening. And you get people, on their first, second, and third juicers. And these things, so the whole idea, right? The party line is that, well, you know, you got to get that juicer, because the juicer means that you're going to be uh, fully armed against the virus. Well, it's because we have these strains and these variations, these mutations, and well, um, your other juices, your other vegetable juices have stopped working. So now you need to get another juicer. Okay. Do you really think that those other juicers stop working? Those other vegetable juices stop working? Nope. Oh, they're still doing their thing. Now you get the first and second and third juicer, and guess what? You're stacking, and these things now become force multipliers inside of the body. That's what's happening. So every time, it's just, it boggles my mind now. You've got people standing in line to get tested like it's a fucking Star Wars movie. You know, I mean, it boggles my mind. People are lemmings. They're lemmings. So this period here now is people are going. To me, this whole cycle, this whole phase where we're dealing with the Pluto return to the U.S., which is a big deal. It's a very big deal. Astrologically, it's a big deal. And that happens on 2/2/22. Really, Pluto hits 27 degrees on the 3rd. So it's 2/2 and 2/3. It's a big deal. And there's other things going on astrologically that day, not just the Pluto return. But it's all part of this sequence, like this major sequence of events. And so we're into January, February, March. This is what's happening in March right here. We've got the true node sidling up with the moon and Algol. And then we have the Venus-Mars conjunction at 0 degrees. This is a big time. Like the first quarter of 2022, intense, very intense. And the echoes of what I would call a material destruction. When I say material destruction, I'm talking about things like money, the money systems. There might even be material destruction as it relates to actual physical structures themselves. This is all first part of 2022. Let me just show you the slide here, this other slide. So we have Mars, Venus, Pluto conjunction, 27 Capricorn. That's on March 3rd. Right. So we got that on March 3rd. We have this on March 6th. So these 2 days are very intense. Now we have the Pluto return happening 2/2/22, 2/3/22. And I see this as a massive fissure, right? It is a massive crack in the structure of our economy, because Pluto's in the second house of the United States. And for everybody in the rest of the world, you know, the United States plays a huge role in a number of different things, both in terms of geopolitical stuff, in terms of the reverberations of an economic collapse in the United States. People will feel it. So, you know, maybe next week, you know, we'll do a kind of a part 2, and we'll look at some other countries for the coming year, which I think would be fair. But I think we're dealing with this tectonic, the beginning of this tectonic shift. And Pluto will be in Capricorn and around the 27th degree until it finally moves out of Capricorn and into Aquarius, finally in late 2024, 2025. I mean, we're still dealing with this, but the first shock wave hits on 2/2/22, 2/3/22. And on March 3rd, we move that forward, and we have this really intense Mars, Venus, Pluto conjunction. Very powerful. I mean, I could see this as a major incursion of the plutocracy, a major incursion of the technocracy. Mars represents war, right? And in Capricorn, it's actually exalted. And we're still dealing with Venus. Venus will be at 11 degrees at that time. It'll be direct. It won't be retrograde. And that has to do with things like agreements and treaties. And but Venus on this date will be direct, not here. Not here. On this date, it'll be direct. So that's the first fissure, big fissure. And then on March 3rd, something significant happens. And I think it has to do with deployment. That's my sense here. Some kind of deployment. If let's say if we did have an earthquake, let's say it was an earthquake, which is quite possible with Uranus in Taurus, and we've got these nodes that are in the mix, right? What would happen? Well, there would be help from around the world that would be sent to the United States. So you would have, UN people coming here. Of course, the Israelis, they're always right on the spot, ready to help. They'll be here. China, what would happen if there was a really significant earthquake here in this country? And all of a sudden, the Chinese come in to help. What do you think of that? Do you think that that's out of the realm of possibility? I certainly don't. How would that make China look? It would make China look pretty good, wouldn't it? Do you think China would leave after that? I'm not sure they'd leave. So this is what I'm talking about. It wouldn't be something along the lines of an out and out war, because I don't think they want to have an out and out war. But a natural disaster, and one that could be fairly significant, I think this kind of fits the bill here. Like I said, I don't want to give away the store, because if you want the whole enchilada, there's a lot more where this comes from, because that was all part of today's webinar. Why don't we just take a quick glance at the Pluto return? That's the Pluto return chart. What's interesting about this chart is that you can see here that there is a Sun-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius. And to me, I mean, this is technocratic right here, right? This is a new layer of hierarchy, wedded, right? Wedded. This is the marriage of the dark sun, which is Saturn, the black sun, which is Saturn, and our solar logos together right there, 14, 15 degrees Aquarius. And here we have the Jupiter, Pluto with, we have there's Pluto right there. And Mercury's there too, and it's retrograde. It's going through a retrograde phase. So, could this look like another, major lockdown period with Mercury retrograde at this point? The thing to me, again, that I was able to kind of piece together with this is that with the Sun-Saturn conjunction, that's very clear. All these planets in Capricorn are behind the sun. I'm sorry, Aquarius in Capricorn are behind the sun. It's like staging. It's like it's being staged. And right back here, there's Mars, right? Mars in Capricorn. Everything's being staged back here. Down here, we have the Jupiter, Moon, Neptune conjunction. That's going on. And pretty dreamy in some ways. In other ways, perhaps not so dreamy. So this is a big, big astrological moment. And it will continue to be a big astrological moment as Pluto continues to move through Capricorn, which is in the second house of the U.S. chart, which represents money, finances, banking, and the government. BlackRock, by the way, has more money and more solvency than any country on the planet right now. Think about that. BlackRock is a Death Star. Total Death Star. Okay. What I want to do is I want to show you this thing with Jupiter and Neptune, the conjunction, and then we're going to kind of wrap things up a little bit here because I said about 2 hours. And if you're interested in getting the full webinar, you can certainly join. The old 11th house there. Okay. I'll show you how to do it before we go. So check this out. The last time we had a Jupiter Neptune conjunction in Pisces was in March of 1856. Look at these three events. But there are four, but number 3 and 4 are connected. Number 1, malvivine, the first synthetic organic dye, is discovered. Oh yeah, by William Henry Perkin while attempting to synthesize quinine. Isn't that interesting? Quinine being one of the things that theoretically is good for the virus, right? This eventually leads to the birth of the chemical industry. Jupiter, Neptune conjunction, liquids, quinine, chemical industry. What are we dealing with now? We're dealing with the exact same fucking thing. The chemical, the technochemical, pharmaceutical, industrial complex. And it gets born with Jupiter and Neptune conjunct in Pisces. Now, the next one is mind-blowing. This one is really trippy. So on May 14th, the San Francisco Committee of Vigilance is founded in the United States. It lynches 2 gangsters, arrests most Democratic Party officials, and disbands on August 18th. Think about that for a moment. That's kind of amazing, actually. So whatever was going on in San Francisco, like they're like, okay, we've got some corruption here. They arrest most Democratic Party officials. Gee, I wonder why. And they came together, they did their thing, and they disbanded. It was like, okay, we kicked ass, and we took names, and we're assuming the gangsters were really gangsters, but not the good guys. We'll just go by I need to read more about that. That's really interesting. And then, so what does that sound like? Well, guess what? We've got the True Note and Algol coming, lynches 2 gangsters. We got the True Note and Algol coming, and we've got corruption up to our eyeballs. And they're both corrupt. The Democrats and the Republicans are both corrupt, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which side of the political aisle you're on, the Democrats are the ones that are sitting in the office right now. So they've got the targets on their backs. Isn't this interesting? Again, you're dealing with things like scapegoats. Like they're on a hunting party here in May of 1856. And then you have the stuff that goes on with Kansas. So on May 24th, the Potawatomi Massacre, a group of followers of radical abolitionist John Brown, kill 5 homesteaders in Franklin County, Kansas. And then on June 2nd, the Battle of Blackjack, anti-slavery forces led by John Brown defeat pro-slavery forces in Bleeding, Kansas. Holy shit. So what are we dealing with now? We're dealing with something very, very similar, aren't we? Echoes of the abolitionist era, or at the very least, the story that we've been told, which may or may not be the real story. But according to Wikipedia, it is. Now, these are themes. These are themes from that time. And all 3 of those themes are present and will be present when Jupiter and Neptune conjunct together. That's going to happen. All 3 of those themes are alive right now. you've got chemicals, you've got quinine, you've got the chemistry in the chemical industry, you have corruption, you have people taking law into their own hands. Is that going to be part of this whole thing? I don't think people are going to be sitting on their hands in 2022, especially when Mars reappears in Aries. That's a very martial energy. It's going to be a very interesting year. Very interesting. I think the year has a lot of promise, actually. It also has a lot of intensity. We're going to have to go through the South Node in Scorpio. We're going to have to deal with the collapse of some structures. The money thing is going to rattle people's cages this year. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. So you need to find ways to hedge that a bit. And again, with the true node in Taurus, get your feet on the ground, get outside, meet people, and meet people that you can have reasonable transactions and exchanges with. Very important. Human value. Human value. Very important. And it's also important to value yourself because, one of the things that we've been going through is we've really been going through this demoralization process. And that's why it's easy to have this mass formation psychosis, mass formation hypnosis, right? The reason is because people just get demoralized. They have no dreams. They have no vision. Essentially, the gatekeepers have just basically put the barricades down and said, fuck you. You'll move forward when we tell you to move forward, and you'll move forward into the world that we're going to tell you to move forward in. And any dream that you have, it'll be our dream, not your dream. Your dream will happen in the metaverse. And that's where you'll get your relief from your bug slurry. But that's really what's happened to people. And it's very demoralizing. Very demoralizing. And we've seen families be split apart, relationships be split apart, communities be split apart, and it hits a lot of people. I'm in human design. I'm splenic. I think maybe I'm lucky in some ways because I know a lot of people in human design, they're emotional, so they have to run through their emotions. But I'm splenic, so I don't necessarily have that kind of thing. But I do get it in a big way, and I've seen it, and I do have empathy for these people because they've been basically shut down or getting shut out of society. And it's even worse than that, right? It's worse than that. There's, if you want a code, I guess there's a place for you in the world to come, but not much else. Not much else. Maybe you can go work on a solar farm. There's not a lot of opportunity in the fourth industrial revolution. It's not about dreams. It's not about visions. It's not about touching the technology. They're taking the technology out of your hands. They want to control the technology. So what do people do? Well, humans, we're ingenious. When we don't have a sponsor, we create the LGB coin. That's what humans do. That's what we're up to. All right. I think that's it. We ran a nice crisp 2 hours here. I'll do a little bit more next week, and I think it'll be different content than what I did today for the webinar. By the way, if you want to go to, I got to fix my site. It's just they changed the code on my site or something. I can't, like, the same things I was able to do before. I can't do again. So, but if you want to become a member and you want to get this webinar, I'll show you where you can do that. It's right here. And I had a whole description of what you get, but again, the code is just not working. So I got to redo this thing. So there you go. We got 3 levels. Mercury, you get to attend one annual webinar with everybody, which we did today. So everybody got to go today. Mars, you get one other webinar, and I believe you get 5% off of my services with the Mars. And then Jupiter, you get to attend 2 webinars, and you get 10% off of my services. So you may want to avail yourself of that. You sign up for any of those. You can get today's webinar. Also, this is available still, but there's a limit on this. This is the Crack the Crypto Code. This is the webinar that Masaki and I did right here. It's a great webinar, and I think valuable, super valuable. You can get the webinar right here at Gumroad, right there. I want this. So you go over to Gumroad. This will only be available to the end of January, and after that, it goes. It's done. And I think I still have my Jasper 22 discount for my astrology course. If you're interested in that, that's also on Gumroad, and you can purchase that from my website. Is there anything else, Jasper? Oh yeah, and if you, and I've done this for one person, and there were 2 other spots for this, but if you buy an astrology course, and it'll go through till next week. If you buy an astrology course as a gift, you will get a second astrology course for yourself. That's a 16-hour course that I have, soup to nuts astrology. And I've given away 2 courses. I'm going to give one more away. And my commitment was to give 3 away, and I've given 2 away. So I'll give one more away. I think that's it. I think it wraps it up for tonight's show. So thanks for being here. Appreciate you all. I'm talking like a Texan now. Appreciate you all. Remember the first time my kids said y'all, I'm like, what? What is that? We don't say that in California. I haven't heard them say y'all too much after that, though. Okay. Let's see. What do we have here? We got a lot of comments here. Good. Really good. Man, you guys have been active tonight. Hey, Stacy. I haven't seen you in a while. Here's my man, Steve. Okay. All right. All right. Bye for now, people. Oh, so is Randy up now? Is the Randy thing up? Let me check that out. That was a good interview. That was a really good interview. Randy's good at what he does. Unblock this post by becoming a Patreon. Oh, Randy's got a little nugget there for you guys. There you go. Support Mr. Randy. Okay. Cool. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye for now. Have a great week. We'll see you now tomorrow, 15 Minutes of Flame. But we'll see you guys on the Astro Tip next Sunday. Take good care and Happy New Year.